Okay, hi guys. This is my first time doing a live. But basically I thought I would try it out and see if I could answer any of your questions about university or how to apply through OUAC, how to get scholarships or anything. And just see if I could try this platform and see if it works. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions about anything related to OUAC or universities. Okay, how do you apply on OUAC? Okay, that's a great question actually, because a lot of people, it can be very confusing. So, for OUAC, what happens is your school sends you like your OUAC pin and your student number and everything. And so for most schools, they'll send it like all the way from early October to late November. And so once you're given your OUAC pin, you can then log on to the website, which is like ouac.ca or whatever it is. And then from there, you click like the 101 if you're like local from Ontario, or if you're a mature student or you live outside of Ontario, you do the 105 application. And then you input the information your school gave you, create an account, and then from there you can start adding your information. Okay, next question. What's the best way to find scholarships? Okay, yeah, this is also a great question because I definitely struggled with this in grade 12. But they're usually, like, simply there's like 3 different types of scholarship. There's your high school ones, your big company ones, and then there's the smaller ones. And so usually the bigger ones, you have the big 3. You have Loran, TD, and Schulich. So for me personally, I would not recommend you apply for those ones just because the applications for those ones are super oversaturated. Like, there are thousands of kids applying, and it's just kind of like a long process for not a lot of like a good outcome. So I would recommend you like check out like scholarship banks. Like there's some called like Scholarship Canada. That's one where you like create an account and you put your interest, and then they like match you up to like specific scholarships. And also there's like specific company ones. So for example, last year I applied to Horatio, and it was like a smaller one. And so the smaller ones are good because they have like less applicants applying, so you have a better chance of winning. And also they usually take less effort, so you don't have to like go the extra mile and get like 300 references or whatever. So yeah, those ones are usually easier to apply to, and like the more you apply to, the better chance you have, Okay, yeah, so we got a couple of those asking about scholarships. Also on our website, let me see if I can show you here. We do have like if you go to the resources section, we have like a scholarship guide that we created. Yeah, so basically we have like a bunch of interviews from like actual scholarship winners if you are interested in applying to like the bigger scholarships. Like we interviewed the winners and they told us like how they actually like won and what they did. So yeah, and we also have like the scholarship banks. Oh yeah, so like this one that I was talking about, like Scholarships Canada. And you can like find specific scholarships or whatever. Let's see. What is early admission and does it give you an advantage? Okay, this is also a really, really good question because we get so many of these questions all the time. And so let me explain it to you really quick. Okay, so basically how admissions works for most universities is that like every month, like when you start to apply, they will give out like offers. So for example, let's say a program has 300 spots. Every month they might give out like 10 offers or something. And so what early admissions is just basically like if you get your offer within like the first few months. Like early admission is kind of from November to March. So if you apply on OUAC early, you get like, for example, if your program needs a sup app or something, you get all of that done. If you get an offer from November to March, that's called early admission. And basically what it is that they might use some of your grade 11 marks because most of your grade 12 marks like aren't available at that point, right? So they'll likely use your grade 11 marks, whatever grade 11 marks you have available, and they might give you an offer. But just because like if you don't receive an offer from November to March doesn't mean that they won't consider you again. Like they'll keep considering you every month. And if you meet the cutoff 1 month, then you'll get an offer. And you like every month you're considered all the way until May. And of course, this depends because like some programs only do offers on certain months. So for example, a program might do a big, like huge offers in like December and March and May, and that's it. Or for some programs, it's like rolling. So if you have like your specific program that you're interested in, I can like, if I know about it, I can tell you. Let's see. Any advice for what to focus on when picking a program? Let's see. I guess it would just be to like maybe like talk to people in that program and see what it's about, because I feel like it's one thing to read about the program, but it's another thing to actually talk to people in that program. So when I was in grade 12, like I had like my top 3 schools that I wanted to go to, and like I really went out of my way to try to like find people on Instagram or like LinkedIn and just talk to them, because it really does make a huge difference. Like for example, I'm not going to say the university, but like I was talking to one person and they told me that their program actually has like a toxic environment, you know? And like environment is like a big thing. Like if the environment is like collaborative and like the people really want to work together and help each other succeed, that's like a big thing for me at least, you know? And what else? Also try to see like what the first year courses are. So for example, like some programs like it's mandatory for you to take physics, it's mandatory for you to take biology, whereas some programs have like more electives and you get to like kind of shape your degree more. So that's really important to think about too. Okay, let's see. If I apply for a winter semester and don't get in, will it hurt my chances for reapplying after? No, to my knowledge, it won't hurt your chances. Can you get accepted into all your choices in OU? Yeah, you can. And there are lots of people that do. And even if you don't, it's not the end of the world. Like there are so many people that get rejected from their top choice and, you know, they go to their second choice and they end up loving it. And this is really corny and really cheesy, but you'll end up where you're meant to go, you know? Okay. Best tip for sub apps. Yeah, sub apps are really hard. And I understand the struggle right now. My best tip for sub apps, well, it depends on the sub app, obviously, but I guess it would just be to be concise, but also to like advertise and convey yourself in the best way possible. Like you don't want to just be like showing off and saying I did da 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 da, but you want to say like how this has been impactful on you, like how this has shaped you and your character and your experiences, and also how this has shaped others. Like you want both impact statements on how it has changed you and what you're going to do in the future and stuff like that, and how it's influenced you, and also like the impact on others. So quantifying it and also talking about yourself as well. So since I have my OUAC number, can I apply to any program? Oh yeah, once you get your OUAC pin, you can like create your account on OUAC, and then you can start applying to like whatever program you want to. And keep in mind that like for like you have to apply to 3 programs at least, and that's $150. And then for any additional program, it's an additional $50. So let's say you apply to 10 programs, that's going to be $500. So it is quite expensive. Okay, what average should I get in grade 11 for 2 unis? I mean, obviously it depends on like which programs you're applying to and stuff, but I always like recommend to the people that I talk to and mentor, like just to always like aim high, you know, like why would you want to settle for less, you know, like always do your best and work hard and that kind of thing. Let's see, do I have to submit program and sub app at the same time? So if this is about OUAC, then no, you don't. Like how OUAC works is you just like rank the programs that you're applying to. So for example, let's say I rank number 1, Queen's Commerce, number 2, Western Ivy, whatever. So you rank them and then you like pay for it and you apply and whatever. And then after that, the universities will send you an email asking you to create an account with them. And then once you create an account with them, then you'll be able to like submit your sub app. Okay, nursing at York. I actually have a friend at nursing who's in nursing at York, and they're really enjoying it. Like the program, like obviously nursing at any university, it's challenging, but they're really enjoying the environment and the community. Okay, water break. Quick water break. Let's see. If I apply in programs that I don't meet the grade requisites for, does it hurt my chances if I apply again? So basically, your goal should be to always meet the minimum cutoff. Like, for example, let's say the minimum cutoff is an 80. You should always aim to be above an 80. Because if you're under, for some programs, let's say Mac Health Side, their cutoff is 90. If you're below a 90, they won't even look at your application. Like, you need to be above a 90 and substantially above a 90 to have a better chance. But if you reapply again and like you have a better average and it meets the cutoff or goes above the cutoff, then you obviously have a better chance. But like if you're below the cutoff, some programs won't even look at you. Like they'll literally throw your application out. So you need to be really careful about the cutoffs. Best architecture uni in Ontario. Obviously it's very subjective and it depends on like what environment you're looking for, because at the end of the day, architecture is architecture, whether you study it at York or whether you study it in Carleton. Yeah, I have a friend who's doing architecture at U Ottawa, and they're really enjoying it so far. Let's see. Advice for application questions. I would say, like what I did personally for me is like knowing that I have like a few programs, like I applied to multiple programs that had sub apps. And so I kind of just wrote like, I had like an Excel spreadsheet and I wrote like a summary about myself. So like I wrote all my extracurriculars and I found which one like was the strongest. So like a strong extracurricular would be something that you had like a leadership position in, or something that you did like something really impactful in. And so you're going to like want to like write that. And there's like a method called the STAR method. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but if you search it up, that's a really good way to like structure like how you talk about extracurriculars. So most sub apps do ask about extracurriculars, and so you're going to want to structure it in a way where you talk about like what you did, how it impacted yourself, how it impacted others, and that kind of thing. So I would suggest you look up the STAR method, because that's also really helpful. And also like just making that what's called that spreadsheet that has all the information, because for example, like for the Waterloo AIF, like they actually ask you to put in like the dates. Like for example, like you have to list all the sports you did. You have to list all the like volunteer opportunities, all the clubs, whatever. And you have to list like from what date to what date you did it. So it's kind of like good to have that prepared in advance, like on an Excel spreadsheet. So then you can just kind of like copy paste that info and like write like one quick line about like what you actually did. So for example, if you did like curling, like I was like the captain of the curling team, or blah, 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 blah. Okay. Another water break. This is my first time doing this, so if my voice is cracking up, I'm so sorry. Okay. Someone asks, what is a supplementary application? Okay, yeah, that's a really good question. Okay, so for some university programs, like in addition to like applying on OUAC or like maintaining good grades, some of them ask for like an essay or ask you to answer a couple questions about your extracurriculars or your volunteering experience. And this really depends on each program. Like I would say like the majority of programs in Ontario don't have a supplementary application, but there are a few that do, especially the more competitive ones. And basically they want to take like a more holistic approach to admissions, and they want to get to know you as a person, like beyond just your grades. Like who are you? What drives you, you know, what makes you happy, that kind of thing. And so that's why a sub app is used. So they ask you questions, for example, like one sub app question that I had to answer was like, name a person who inspires you and why do they inspire you? Or for example, if you're doing the Waterloo AIF, it might be like, why do you want to come to Waterloo? Or like, I don't know, just talking about your extracurriculars and that kind of thing. And so that is like a separate application that you have to fill out on like the actual website, the login portal of the universities. Okay. Okay, so someone asked, is 85 to 90 good for software engineering at Waterloo? Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now, engineering at Waterloo is extremely competitive, like very competitive. But we do have a resource, I believe, on our Linktree that has like a list of I believe it's like it's like a list of like previous like Waterloo applicants and their like grades, and it also shows kind of like the grade distributions throughout the years and like what's the average to get into various engineering at Waterloo. So I would recommend you check out our Linktree. Actually, let me see if I can go on our Linktree right now. Yeah, right here. It's in the link in our bio, but if you click it, it basically has Waterloo engineering resources. There's like a Discord group you can join, how to get into Waterloo engineering. And this guy, Paul O, he made this really, really good article that shows you like the averages that everyone had and like that kind of thing. Okay. Yeah, sample interview questions, how admissions work, timeline. Yeah, this stuff is really good. Like if I was applying to Waterloo Eng, I would check these resources out. But generally, like Waterloo Eng can be very, very competitive. How latest should my extracurriculars be when adding it to my applications? Okay, I think, are you referring to like how recent should the extracurriculars be that you're mentioning? Typically, you would only mention stuff grade 9 and above. Like, you shouldn't usually be mentioning anything that's like in middle school. Like, most experiences that are relevant to your university application usually start from grade 9. And also, it's really great for universities to see that you've like committed to various extracurriculars. So for any like grade 9s or 10s watching, like really try to get involved in extracurriculars and stuff like that, because then if you become committed to your extracurriculars and you start to take on leadership opportunities and that kind of thing within the extracurriculars, then that can be very helpful for like applying. Okay, is Waterloo the hardest uni to get into in Ontario? It depends on the program. Like I would say Waterloo Engineering is the hardest engineering program to get into in Ontario, like by far. But for other programs, like for example, Waterloo Life Sciences, like you can, like the average to get in is 85, so it's not extremely hard. These lives are helpful. Continue doing them. Oh, should I continue doing lives? I don't know. I was like gonna try it out today and see how it goes. So if you guys enjoy them, I would be happy to like keep doing them. Do you know which programs usually have a sub-app? Okay, yeah, so I can tell you a couple programs that have a sub-app. So at Queen's, the programs that have a sub-app are Queen's Commerce, Queen's Health Sci, and Nursing. And then at Mcmaster, I believe Health Sci has a sub-app. Yeah, I'm not sure which other Mcmaster programs have a sub-app. Waterloo, they have the AIF. And so the AIF is the admission information form, and so I know that's mandatory for like engineering or for CAP, but for the other programs it's optional, but it can help boost you. So for example, let's say you have a lower average than like lower in the grade range, but you want to like boost your application, then you can fill out the AIF. And then I know for Wilfrid Laurier they have something called the ABS. The ABS is like completely optional for all programs. You don't have to fill it out. But let's say your like average is in the lower range, then you can fill out the ABS and it will totally like boost you. And like it'll help the admissions consider you like beyond just your grades. Okay, another water break. Okay, what sort of program should I apply to if I want to pursue optometry or ophthalmology? So both optometry and ophthalmology are like graduate programs, to my knowledge. And so ophthalmology, to become an ophthalmologist, you have to like do your undergrad and then get into med school. And then from there you do residency and specialize into ophthalmology. And so to get into med school, like most people think you have to go into like a health science or life science background, which yes, it does help with like the MCAT and like applications and that kind of thing, but you don't have to. Like there are so many people I know that, for example, did their undergrad in music and got into med school, or did their undergrad in English and got into med school. As long as you can keep up that high GPA and take any like prerequisite courses and also get a high grade on the MCAT. And optometry is the same thing. It's also a graduate program. I know Waterloo has a school of optometry, but generally I would say it's easier to do a degree in like health sciences or life sciences for your undergrad, because it'll just prepare you for any like for the classes in optometry and like med school and stuff like that. And it'll also prepare you for like MCAT and that kind of thing. Okay, if a program requires an average of low 80s, what exactly does that mean and what is the range? Okay, yeah, so basically, just because a program says the grade range is in the low 80s does not necessarily mean that every student applying is in the low 80s or the cutoff is in the low 80s. It could be higher or lower depending on the students applying. So for example, I'll give you guys an example. last year, Mcmaster Life Sciences, their grade range, I believe, is mid 80s to high 80s, I believe. But last year, because of online school, so many people's marks were inflated, like extremely inflated. And so because of the inflation, that kind of meant like every student's marks was higher than expected. So they had to give offers to students that had higher marks. So I believe last year, like, people were very upset. Like, there was a lot of controversy surrounding Mcmaster Life Sciences because, like, students with like an 89 or a 92 were getting rejected because of how inflated it was. And so this is not to scare you or make you nervous, but it's just to say that, like, inflation does play a role on your marks. And so you're going to want to do your best regardless. Like, just because it says low 80s doesn't mean you just aim for low 80s and that's it. You have to, like, try to, like, just do your best, basically. But yeah, the grade range doesn't necessarily determine the cutoff. What's the best school for education program? Like, if you want to be a teacher, most students I know who want to be teachers, like, do Con Ed for their undergrad. And I know Queens has a strong, concurrent education program. And then from there, they apply to be a teacher. Should I get a part-time job in grade 12? Should you get a part-time job in grade 12? This really depends on you. Like, for example, like, it depends on your course load. It depends on, like, how many extracurriculars you're involved in. Because at the end of the day, it's all about balance. Like, the number one most important thing in grade 12 is just keeping your grades up and keeping your GPA high. And everything, well, technically, number one should be your mental health and your well-being, obviously. But after that is just keeping those grades up. So if you feel like you can handle that, like, let's say, for example, you have 2 spares this semester and you think you can handle it, then go for it. By all means, it's a great experience. And also you can start saving up for college on the side. Like, that's really great. But if you find it to be too much and you find your grades slipping, you should, like, if you can, like, don't sacrifice your grades for anything, you know? That's my personal advice. And obviously take it with a grain of salt. But, yeah, I think if you can balance it, go ahead. But, like, you know, don't sacrifice your well-being or your grades. Okay. Okay, let's see. Do you have a YouTube channel? If not, you should definitely start one. Ooh, should we? I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Okay, what is the best business program in your opinion? So, in my opinion, obviously, like everyone considers the big 3. And so the big 3 business programs are Queen's Commerce, Western, BMOS, and Ivy, and then it's York Schulich. So those are, like, the top 3, like, business programs, general opinion. But, like, obviously, other business programs are good too, like Mcmaster Commerce, Laurier, BBA, those are all good. But, like, in terms of, like, the general opinion, and kind of what people consider to be the big 3 schools in business, those would be Queen's Commerce, Western, Ivy, and BMOS, and York Schulich. And I have friends in all 3, and they really enjoy it, and they really love it. I did my diploma in biotech, and I'm interested in U of T Life Sciences. I'm not too sure about, like, how college credits transfer to university. So I think it'll have, like, I don't want to speak on something unless I personally feel like I have expertise in it, you know? Okay, do you think inflation will play a role this year? That's a really good question. Will inflation play a role this year? Well, in my opinion, seeing as how grades were so inflated with online school, and seeing as how there's still, like, a good chunk of kids online, like, I would say majority are back in school, but about 15% are still online. I don't think it will play as big of a role as it did in last year's admissions, but I do think that inflation might affect, like, early admissions, just because I know the majority of people's grade 11 marks are probably inflated due to, you know, everyone being online last year. But, like, I think for grade 12 marks this year, first of all, teachers have now gotten used to, you know, testing online and just testing in general in this new, like, whatever they're doing, like the adjusted semester or adjusted quadmester format. So obviously everyone's going to be adjusted to that. So yeah, I think it'll play less of a role. But again, this is all speculation and this is all just, like, my opinion, you know? Thank you. Someone said this is helpful. I'm trying, you know? And keep those questions coming because I really enjoy, like, doing this because, not to go off on a tangent, but I understand how hard it is to apply. And, like, for me, I was so confused last year, like, navigating OUAC, figuring out how to do everything by myself. And so that's why I really wanted to do this, to just give people advice. Okay. Which university has the best dietetics program? I'm actually not sure. But I would say if you want to learn about universities, like specific programs, I said this earlier in the live, but like, I'm not sure if you guys have LinkedIn. Like a lot of high schoolers I know don't have LinkedIn. But for me, I got LinkedIn in grade 11 and it really helped me. Like I would just reach out to university students and be like, hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. I'm in grade 11 and I'm from blah, blah, blah. I'm really interested in applying to this program. And I was wondering if you would mind like just having like a quick 10-minute like chat just so I could ask you some questions. And like the majority of people were so friendly and so nice, and we would do like a quick like Zoom chat or whatever. And I would just like ask them all my questions about the program. Like, are you enjoying it? How's the environment? How's the school? Like, what kind of courses do you take? Like, is it difficult? Are profs supportive? And those questions are so important. And just like getting those answers from actual students is, I think, can really help you in like shaping your decision. So yeah, I would recommend doing that. Okay, what's the best school for education program? So usually anyone who wants to become a teacher applies to concurrent education. And so I've heard that, like, in my opinion, a strong concurrent education program is at Queen's. But every university has a strong concurrent education program. It just depends on what you're looking for specifically. When you're applying to competitive program science, how many should I apply to in total? Okay, so in my opinion, and again, this is all my opinion, you should aim to apply for no more than 8, because I know a lot of people, like for me personally, I feel like I applied to way too many. I applied to 10 programs in total, and like I knew I did not want to go to all 10 of those programs. So I would say like find the programs that you're really genuinely interested in and apply for them and put your best foot forward. So you should have like your top 3 that you really want to go to. And then I would say maybe have like 3 backups or 3 things to fall on. Let's say like you don't get the grades you wanted or your step app answers weren't that great. Like you should have those 3 backups. So I would say probably 6 for like science related stuff. What year are you in and what school do you go to? Yeah, so I go to Queen's University and I'm studying health sciences. Do you think online university is better or staying and studying at res? It's better and worse in a lot of ways. So I would say, in my opinion, like going in person for university is better, just because you get that like socialization aspect and you get to meet new people and you get to network. And also for online university, there's no benefits to it. Like you're just staying at home studying, and like any tests or exams you have, they're like fully proctored. So like, for example, like they'll be watching anything on your screen at all times, and they'll be watching you through your camera and your mic is on. So it's not like you have any benefit with staying at home and studying online. Like, not to say that there would be a benefit if it wasn't proctored, don't cheat. But I'm just saying like there's no difference between like doing university online versus in person. Like you're not going to get better grades online because like it's all delivered in the same way and they're all proctored in the same way. So yeah, I would say in my opinion, doing university in person just for your mental health, well-being, meeting new people, networking, joining clubs, I would say in-person university is better. On the website, can you guys put portfolios that got accepted to Unis? Oh, sure. Like, what do you mean? Like students and their like statistics, like they got this average and they got accepted into these universities? Because I'm down to do that. But just let me know like specifically what you want. Advice for grade 12 students applying to business programs. I would say if you're interested and you like these schools, apply to the top 3. So like I said, York Schulich, Queen's Commerce, and Western BMOS and Ivy. Apply to those. Try your best to get your best grades as possible. And also for any supplementary applications, start early. Like, for example, like I know Mcmaster Health Sciences application is out. Start early. Do not leave it to the last minute. Because if you work on it and you can get a lot of other people's inputs and editing and stuff like that, it will just make it stronger and stronger. And I know that when you're like feeling anxious about something, like it's just easy to like put it off, out of sight, out of mind. But like the more you confront it, the better off you'll be in the end. How important are extracurriculars when applying to university? That depends on your programs. So Yeah, it depends because some programs do have supplementary applications where they ask about extracurriculars, and some programs like have supplementary applications but they don't ask about extracurriculars, and then some programs just don't have supplementary applications at all. So I'd say definitely, like, if you want, you can like type in the comments like which kind of programs you're applying to. Like, are you applying to more like economics, political science, health science, engineering, whatever, and I can tell you if they like typically have supplementary applications. Should we also apply to colleges too? Oh, that depends on what you want to do. Yeah, it depends on what you want to do, and it depends on like where you want to go and what's convenient for you. Like, for example, I know a person who applied to college and they did like a 1-year accelerated program and they became a paramedic, and now they're making $100K a year and they're very happy. So it all depends on you and like your goals. How is the sub app for Queen's Health Sci? Oh yeah, so how that sub app works is every month it refreshes. So every month it's new questions, and so every month they give you 3 questions. Out of those 3 questions, you pick 2, and then you write a paragraph on each question. And it was pretty like straight up questions. Like, it wasn't like some abstract weird questions. Like, it was straight up. Like, for example, like one of the questions was like, who inspires you and why do they inspire you? Or like, what is one thing you've been involved in that has had a significant impact on you? So it's like straightforward questions. It's not like something abstract like, what does this artistic piece mean to you? No, they're pretty straightforward. And yeah, they don't have like a long word count. Like, I believe it was 250 words or less per question. Or was it characters? I think it might have been actually 2,000 characters. But yeah, they're pretty straightforward. And so yeah, you only have that 1 month to complete it. How to study for a math test. I guess my biggest advice, and actually math was one of my favorite courses in high school. But my biggest advice for math tests is just practice. Like, no matter how much you review the material, if you don't actually like put in the practice and like do the questions, do the practice questions, do the challenging thinking questions, then you're never going to get better. And also, don't be afraid to ask your teacher questions. Like for me, like I would go out of my way to practice. So like there's this website where you can find like practice tests for each question, like for the course. Like, let's say you're in grade 11 functions right now, they have practice tests for that course. So you can do those practice tests and kind of like put yourself in a situation like what would be some of the questions asked. Or like for me, what I would do, and this is a secret tip between me and you guys, I would like ask some of the like older like students, like for example, like let's say I'm in grade 10 math, I would ask some of the grade 11s or 12s that I know, like if they have their old math tests, and they would like send me a picture and I would use it to practice. And like oftentimes teachers are really lazy and they'll just like repeat the questions. So if you want, you can just like try that and get some practice in. So yeah. Tips for applying to scholarships. I find Scholarship Canada hard to navigate. Yeah, if you find Scholarship Canada hard to navigate, that's also fair. Like, it can get pretty confusing. I would say just keep your eye out. Like, for example, let's say you're part of like, I don't know, a marginalized community. Usually they have like certain scholarships depending on your community. Or let's say like you're a part of like some other organization. Like, I know, for example, there's an organization called Kin Canada, and then they give out a bunch of scholarships. Horatio gives out scholarships. Usually like small companies, especially like small Canadian companies, will give out scholarships. Like, I don't remember the exact name, but last year there was like this company. It was like a Canadian energy company, and they were giving out this like $3,000 scholarship for a student who like did like an essay on like renewable energy or something, and no one applied. Like, I'm not kidding you guys. Like, literally no one applied. Like, you could literally write 3 words and you might get it just because no one else applied. So it's just about finding those like niche scholarships. And like, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but I saw this video like last year that said like there are like millions of dollars in scholarships that just go unclaimed because like no one applies or not enough people apply. And so I would just say just like try to find like the niche scholarships. And like you can do that through like Facebook. You can try to do that through Scholarships Canada, but if that's hard to navigate, just try to like search through Facebook or other like social networking. Okay, is Waterloo good for economics? I don't actually know anyone in Waterloo economics, so I can't speak to that. How do I apply on OUAC? Yeah, that's a great question. We were talking about that earlier. So basically, if you're in grade 12 and you're in Ontario, your school will give you an OUAC PIN number. So you use this PIN number to create your account. So if you go on the OUAC website, you search up OUAC on Google, it'll take you to their website. you click on the 101 option. This is if you live in Ontario. And then you can click create your account and it'll ask you to put in that PIN number. So you just put in the PIN number and the student number that your school gave you, and then you can follow the instructions to make your account. Is uni in school or still online due to COVID? Oh yeah, that depends on your university. Like for example, my university, we're fully in person. I know Western is fully in person. Like there are some universities that are kind of half and half, like they're hybrid. They have some classes in person and sometimes you're online. And also I know universities mostly gave students the option to pick. So for example, like when I started at the start of the year, they sent us an email asking us whether we wanted to do online or in person. Let's see. Does Mcmaster Health Science care about extracurriculars? No. And I say this because their supplementary application is unlike any other supplementary application I've ever seen. Basically, it's very abstract questions. Like the questions are very open to interpretation, and I'm not sure if you've checked out the questions for this year because they're out already, so I would recommend you get on it straight away. But they're very like abstract questions, and yes, you can bring up like extracurriculars if you want to, but usually the questions are more about like how you think, like what's your thinking process and how you approach questions and like what's your problem solving technique and that kind of thing, more so than just showing off your extracurriculars. So, yeah. Okay, sorry, give me a sec. What's the next question? What should I do if I like environmental science and social science? If you like two things, like so many people that I know applying this year feel like they have to narrow themselves down to one thing. A lot of the times in university, you can do a double major or you can do a minor. Like, for example, I know someone who might do like a history major with like a computer science minor. Like there are so many universities and programs that offer that option where you don't have to like narrow yourself down to just one thing and do that for the rest of your university. Like you can take a bunch of electives in first year and figure out what you truly like. And then if you want, you can pursue like a double major or a minor in that subject. So if you really like environmental science and social science, I would suggest maybe trying to find a program that can offer you the option to do a double major or at least take a minor in one of those subjects. Do social science programs have supplementary applications? Usually no. Yeah. Social science programs, I applied to a couple social science programs and none of them required a supplementary application. Do you know anything about the trades? I don't, well, actually I have a few friends in the trades, but I don't know like a lot about the trades, but I do know that the trades is a very lucrative, trades are very lucrative positions right now because not a lot of people are going to trades. There's a lot of opportunity for advancement and a lot of opportunity to get like a really huge salary in trades. And there's a lot of opportunity to just grow and like get senior positions in trades. So it's a path that if you're considering, you should seriously consider because, there's like the trades you can be really successful in the trades. If I have one class that's applied, can I still go to university? So I'm assuming you're in grade 9 or 10, so you're taking applied courses. But once you get to grade 11 and 12, you can pick between doing a university course, mixed course, or a college course. And as long as you fill the prerequisites for your university program, it doesn't matter if you took applied in grade 9 or 10. It does not matter. As long as you fill those prerequisites in grade 12. So yeah. And how do you find the prerequisites? I'm not sure if your school has this, but most schools have this program called Blueprint, where you search up the program and it tells you what the prerequisites are. So for example, most programs, the prerequisites are you have to do ENG 4U, and then you have to do 5 other U courses. So that means you need to complete the English university course and then 5 other courses that are considered university level courses. How often do you do lives? This is my first live. Yeah, this is my first live. So yeah, I'm just trying this out and seeing if this is, like a good way to answer people's questions. Because I feel like a lot of the times, people will ask questions and it'll go unanswered. So this is a great way for me to just like answer your questions live and hopefully give you good answers. And like if you have any like follow-up questions, I can answer it too. How much harder is uni than high school? That's a great question because I really wondered this too when I was in grade 12 and 11. University, it's not that the content is harder because it isn't. Well, it depends. But usually for university, it's just that it goes so much quicker. and like there's just so much more material that you have to learn. So you're kind of studying in a new way. So for example, like high school is 10 months, and then like each semester is 5 months, whereas university is 8 months. Like we only go from September to April. And so each semester is 4 months. And in those 4 months, you have 5 courses that you're doing. So it's a lot of content. So you have to like get used to doing things quicker. And for me, that was a huge struggle because I was the kind of person in high school who likes to digest things very slow. And like I like to take my time to like wrap my head around a concept. But when you go to university, it's like go, go, go. You know, it's very quick. Is Laurier a good school? Laurier is a great school. It has like a really good like student life and environment. And at the same time, it's very like a work hard, play hard environment. And obviously it depends on which program you want to apply to. But in general, I would say Laurier is a good school. In terms of the actual like city Laurier is in, Waterloo can be a bit sketch, but it's really up to your opinion. Should I do the IB program in high school? If you want to, in my opinion, if you want to apply to American schools, I would say do IB. But if you're just applying for Canadian schools, then it's a lot of like unnecessary stress. Because Canadian schools don't, it's not like they consider if you did IB more than, students who went to regular high schools. But it can help you in university because you do get to do like advanced courses. But at the same time, if you don't want to put that stress on yourself, you can just go to like a normal high school and you'll still be considered the same at Canadian universities. But if you're applying to American universities, they do consider whether you did IB or AP, and that might help you and boost you. How do you find Mcmaster sub-app questions? Is this for Mcmaster Health Sci? What programs would you recommend for Health Sci? Okay, yeah, so I'd obviously recommend Mcmaster. I think it just depends because I've heard very mixed reviews about Mcmaster Health Sciences, although it is the top thing and like 20% of students 20% of graduates from Mcmaster Health Sciences do end up in medical school. It depends on you. Like some people find it because everyone there is an extremely driven and A-type kind of person, A personality. And so for some people, that's not the environment that they want to be in. And also just the way that they don't learn in traditional like lecture style classrooms. They learn in like the problem solving type classroom. So if that's not like a style that works for you, then you might want to consider a different university. So I'd recommend Mcmaster Health Sciences. Queen's Health Sciences, I think, is my top recommendation. Might be a little biased here, but it's a really new program and it's a lot of resources are being put into it. And also it's a flipped classroom model. So that means that there's a lot of focus on you like getting engaged and like really learning the material properly instead of just like sitting at a desk and just watching your professor like lecture to you for like an hour and a half. Like there's a huge emphasis put on like flipped learning and that kind of model, and also just like shaping your degree because we have learning tracks. So yeah. And Western Health Science, it's also a good program, but it's more like social science. Like, I feel like for science programs, they can either be towards more like the physical sciences or the social sciences. And so for Mcmaster Health Sci and Queen's Health Sci, they fall in the middle between social and physical sciences, whereas Western Health Sciences is more social science-y, Okay, I am taking grade 12 functions, physics, business, grade 11 art right now. They need 6 grade 12 courses. So what do they use? For most students right now, they probably, like, if you're in grade 12, you don't have any of your grade 12 marks yet. Like, you haven't had your midterm marks out, you haven't had your final marks out. So if they do offer admissions, it's going to be based off of your grade 11 marks. But again, there's several admissions rounds throughout, like, each month, So as you start to get in your grade 12 marks, the universities will start to consider them. And at the end of the day, in May, the universities are only going to consider the grade 12 marks that you have. What's the best school for business? The top 3 for business in Ontario are Queen's Commerce, Western Ivy and BMOS, and York Schulich. But outside of Ontario, I would say probably UBC Sauder. Sauder's Commerce is really good. Let's see. Oh my gosh, a lot of people are asking for Mcmaster supplementary application advice. I'm assuming you guys are talking about health sci. Oh, sorry, quick water break. This is my first time doing a live, so my voice is kind of dying. So yeah, supplementary application advice. Their application is very abstract. Like, it's not your typical questions. Like, they might give you, like, a picture and tell you, analyze what this is. Or they'll give you, like, Greek traits and be like, which traits do you have a deficiency in? Which traits are you stronger in? So it's very, like, abstract questions. It's not the kind of questions where you can say, like, oh, these are my extracurriculars. This is what I did. This is why you should accept me. The main goal of their supplementary application questions is to see how you think. It's to see your problem-solving technique, how you approach questions. And so if you're imagining, last year they had 7,000 applicants. And of those 7,000, I think it was like 3% were accepted. And so you can imagine first of all, the applications that stand out are probably going to be the ones that, get those higher scores. But at the same time, it all depends on your scores. So I'm not sure if you guys know this, but the way that the applications are scored is like this. So there's 3 questions on the Mcmaster Health Science supplementary application. Each question is read by 2 different Mcmaster Health Science students. And those students give it a score from 1 to 7, 7 being the best. And from there, in total, you have 6 people reading your questions, 2 for each question, right? And so from there, your scores are averaged. And so whoever has the higher scores plus the higher marks are the people who get the offers. And so it's very, very difficult. So I would say, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Give yourself time to think and brainstorm. Like the way I've done it and the way that my friends did it, is like, we read the questions, we gave ourselves time to like digest the questions and really think about which option we wanted to pick. And then from there, we brainstormed ideas. And we talked to other people. We talked to people who were in Mcmaster Health Sciences. We talked to our mentors. We brainstormed ideas. We kind of, just like brainstormed until we came up with really strong points that we really thought were good. And then we kind of went with those. And just like start it ahead of time. That would be my biggest advice, is start it ahead of time. You might have to make 3 drafts before you get something that you're really happy with. Are the ranges on Ontario universities for grade acceptance accurate? Kind of. It really does depend on like your year. Like, for example, last year the grades were very inflated because of online school, and so they really weren't accurate. Like, for example, Mcmaster Life Sciences, their grade range was like mid 80s to high 80s or something like that, and people were getting rejected with a 92 average. So I guess it just depends. In my opinion, there's going to be less inflation this year, but don't like just rely on those grade ranges. Like, try to just do your best, because those grade ranges might not always be accurate. What's the difference between health sciences and biomedical sciences? Okay, yeah, so from the people I know in both programs, biomedical science is more like engineering related. It's more like physics related, and like actually it can be more geared towards that than health sciences, whereas health sciences might be geared towards like more of the social sciences. But again, I would recommend, like, for a more accurate answer, you like try to reach out to people in both of those programs, like on LinkedIn, because that's what I did in grade 12 and it really helped me. Do they only look at top 6 marks? Yes. And they look at like the prerequisites. Like, for example, let's say it says the prerequisites for this program are ENG4U plus 5 other U courses. Then they will only look at ENG4U plus your top 5 like other courses. So yeah, it's top 6 marks. Does my top 6 have to be my prerequisites, or is it just recommended? Yeah, it's your prerequisites. Is U of T a good school for social sciences? Now, this is just my opinion, and obviously, like, take this with a grain of salt. Talk to people who are actually in U of T. But for all my friends that went to U of T and people that I know at U of T, it's a very rigorous environment. Like, it's very work hard environment. And I know that sometimes the professors are not always supportive. So not to bash U of T or anything, but in my opinion, and based on what I've heard from students there, U of T is just a very, very like tough environment academically. And, usually people call like U of Ters for a reason. Okay, on a scale from 1 to 10, how easy is it to get accepted by Ryerson? Like, you have an average of 80 to 85. Ryerson is not extremely hard to get into. So, I don't know, I would say like 5 to 6. If you work hard and you have that 80 to 85 average, then you should be okay, like depending on, it always depends on your program, and it depends on, the inflation of that year. But I would say Ryerson is a good school to go to, and it's not extremely, extremely hard to get into. Is Western good for sociology? Western is a great school. Western is a great school in general. It has a really good balance of work hard, play hard. And for social sciences, it's a good school for that. Do you know how hard it is to get into Mcgill? Mcgill is actually a fairly competitive university, but the people that I do know that went to Mcgill really have enjoyed their time there. It's like a tight-knit environment. But on a scale from 1 to 10, it obviously depends on your program, because I know, for example, Mcgill's commerce program can be fairly difficult to get into. I would say maybe like a 6.5 to a 7 for difficulty to get into Mcgill. Okay, someone asked, what's your favorite color? It's purple. Let's see. Next question. What type of things do you learn in health sci? I actually really enjoy our program because instead of just like learning like the hard sciences in first year, like for example, like let's say I took physics, biology, chemistry, like you learn things actually related to health. So for example, one of our courses is called anatomy, and for that course we actually get to go into like the medical building, into the anatomy lab, and like study actual like cadavers and like actual specimens. And so it's very interesting because it's like you actually get to apply the knowledge to like programs that courses that you actually like. Or like, for example, another one of our courses is like physiology. We have like, what else? Sorry, I'm like blanking right now. We have social determinants of health, and it's just like very health related. But we also have a good mix of like hard sciences. Like we do chemistry, and you can also like gear your degree to what you want. So we have learning tracks. So let's say one of our learning tracks is like immunology, or like inflammation and that kind of thing. So you can like gear your degree to what you want. I really enjoyed this live. Thank you. It was really helpful. Thank you. Thank you for joining, and I hope that I was able to answer your questions. Okay. What school do you recommend for neuroscience? So like you want to be a neuroscientist, or you want to be a neurologist, or like what's your end goal? Is Ryerson Business good? I haven't heard too much about Ryerson Business, but I think it's a pretty strong program. And for business in general, the top, like they call it like the big three. The big three for Ontario business is York, Queen's, and Western. What unis have a good work environment? I think the universities that have a good like work and also like work hard, play hard, like balance, would probably be, in my opinion, Western, Queen's, Laurier, Mcmaster. There are a lot of schools. I can tell you which schools don't, in my opinion, have a good balance. In my opinion, the schools that don't have a good balance might be like University of Toronto, Waterloo, just those schools that tend to have more of like a rigorous academic environment and less of a social environment. I searched up if Canadian universities consider IB program. However, you didn't recommend. Why? So for me, I have a lot of friends who did IB. And so in IB, like what they do is they transfer your grades from like the IB score. Like from what they've told me, they transfer from an IB score to like equivalent percentage when applying to Canadian universities. And from what my friends have told me, my friends in IB, they mostly applied to IB so that they could apply to American schools. And so what they've told me is that the universities don't consider, but obviously like always take whatever I say with a grain of salt and do your own research. But in my personal opinion, like I applied to like Ontario universities and I didn't do IB, and it didn't affect my application at all. It didn't have any effect. And yeah. Is U Windsor a bad school for academics? It is a smaller school. I actually don't know anyone at U Windsor. So I I can't like, I don't want to give you false information or anything, but it is like a smaller, more tight-knit community. So I'm not sure about their academic and like work-life balance. What health sci programs focus more on social sciences? I would say the main health sci program that focuses more on social sciences is Western health sciences. Western health sciences mostly is more like geared towards the social sciences aspect more than like the health sciences or the physical sciences. What program are you in? I'm in health sciences. Is the nursing program at Ryerson University good? Nursing like throughout is like pretty strong, like no matter what university you go to. Like they're all like nursing students that I know are all pretty hardworking, and it's a rigorous like academic program like either way, and it's also nursing tends to be very competitive. But yeah, I would say Ryerson's a good school, especially if you want to be in Toronto but don't want to go to U of T. Okay, where was I in questions? What are your thoughts on Guelph? Guelph has a great social life. Like, I know so many people at Guelph who are living it up. Guelph is like a really like social community. Like you meet so many people there, and so many people from like different places. Like just university in general, you meet a lot of people, but Guelph is really great socially. And they also have a strong veterinary program. And I know they have I think they have a strong like Con Ed program, veterinary program, and I think like molecular like biology in general is really strong at Guelph. Okay, let's see. If I take English, advanced functions, calculus and vectors, physics, chemistry, and religion 4M, can I still apply? As long as you meet your program's prerequisites. Like it all depends on your program. Like for example, if your program requires, let's say, ENG 4U and then 5 other U courses, you need to make sure that you fill that requirement. But for example, let's say the requirement is ENG 4U, and then you can do 5 other U/M. Then it doesn't matter if you do U or M, as long as you fill the prerequisites. What's the difference between competitive admission range and minimum? That's a really okay. So minimum admission average is the minimum average you need to even be considered, like to even be looked at. For example, let's take Mcmaster Health Sciences. Their minimum cutoff is 90. If you have below a 90, they will not look at your application. They will not even take one look at it. Not below a 90 and your application is thrown out. So that's minimum. That's the minimum average you need to even be considered or looked at. Competitive admission range is the competitive admission range of students who are accepted. So for example, let's say minimum admission average is 90. But the competitive admission range might be a 94 to a 95 or a 94 and above. So yeah. And that all depends on the students that year and the inflation and that kind of thing. Please give good scholarships. Okay, yeah, some examples of scholarships that I would recommend you apply to. I would recommend you apply to Horatio Alger. They give medium-sized scholarships. And last year, not a lot of people knew about them. Or actually just in general, it's not a really well-known scholarship, but it's a really established program, and they give a lot of good scholarships. So I recommend you apply to Horatio Alger. What else? I would recommend, sometimes high schools also give scholarships. Oh, also, depending on what your the companies your parents work at, often the companies give scholarships to the children of their employees, and oftentimes not a lot of students apply for that. So for example, let's say you have a parent who works at RBC, they usually have a $4,000 scholarship you can apply to. Or let's say you have a parent that works at BMO. I think their scholarship's $5,000, and it's not too hard to get. What universities and programs did you apply to? This is some advice that I usually give the people that I mentor is don't apply to so many programs, because I applied to, in my opinion, too many. I applied to 10 different programs, and I applied at 6 different universities. So I applied to U of T, I applied to Mcmaster, Western, Queen's, Laurier, and Waterloo. And I got accepted for all of the programs. What year is it? It's 2021. So does that mean if you're above the competitive admission range, you're most likely to be accepted? Yeah. But it depends on your program, if your program has a SUP-AF, because sometimes the subapp can be weighed like equally to your grades. So in that case, then your subapp really matters. Okay, is Waterloo a good school? I've been looking at it for environmental. Waterloo in general is a really good school. Waterloo in general like has a great like academic environment. As for social environment, I know like the popular opinion is that their social environment is kind of lacking. But academically it's a really strong university. Is Rotman hard to get into? Yeah. It's a competitive program and it's a really good program. So it is generally hard to get into, but as long as you like keep your grades up and just do your best, then at the end of the day, you'll know that you've done your best, you know? And you can like be satisfied with that, with whatever university you get into. Okay, which marks do they look at? I know your top 6 matter, but which marks? Grade 12, Sem 2. Okay, so I'll tell you guys the most important marks, like the marks you need to be grinding for, are grade 12, Sem 1, like semester 1. Like those marks will likely shape like your entire admission thing, because those are the first marks that the universities are going to receive from you for your grade 12 marks. And so those marks are going to matter a lot. Because if you're in grade 12 at this point, there's nothing you can do to change your grade 11 marks, and that's fine. Like grade 11 only matters for early admission, you know? But you have to work hard in grade 12 semester 1. Grade 12 semester 1 and also grade 12 midterm semester 2. Those are the like marks that are considered. As well as your like top 6. If you get above 80 average on your top 6 4U/M courses, can you get a scholarship in Carleton or U Ottawa? Oh yeah, so if you guys didn't know, there's something called entrance scholarships. So entrance scholarships you're automatically considered for based on your average. So I'm not sure, you'll have to search that up on their website, but usually how it works is like, if you have a 85 average or above, then you get like $3,000. If you have 90 or above, you might get $3,500. 95 or above, you get $4,000. And so those you're automatically considered for and you don't have to apply for. When applying to health sciences, do you need physics since it's just recommended? If it's just recommended and it's not a prerequisite, then you don't need it. Yeah, then you wouldn't need it. But I would also recommend like looking into what the first year courses are. Like for example, I know I believe Western MedSci, like one of their first year courses is physics. So in that case, it might be helpful to take grade 12 physics just so like you have like the lay of the land and you kind of like know what you're doing. Do grade 11 marks really matter when applying to uni? I'm worried because I really messed up in grade 11. Yes and no. So how it works is like the first few, so how it works is admissions are usually like given out like in months. So let's say they start in November all the way to May. So they'll give out some offers in November, some in December, some in January, February, whatever. So let's say November, December, you don't really have any grade 12 marks available for schools to look at, but you only have your grade 11 marks available. So they will look at your grade 11 marks, and if they're really high, then they'll give you like an offer. But that said, if your grade 11 marks are not that great, if you work hard in grade 12 and you get your average up, then you will be considered those other months. Like you're going to be considered in December or January when your grade 12 semester 1 final marks come in. They're going to reconsider you and they'll give you an offer of admission. So in that case, it doesn't really matter. But if you want to kind of like be assured and like have an earlier offer of admission, then like I would recommend, like regardless, I would recommend working hard in grade 11 and trying your best to get the highest grades that you possibly can, because it just better prepares you for grade 12. But at this point, if you're in grade 12 and your grade 11 marks weren't the best that they could possibly be, don't stress out. Just focus on bettering your grade 12 marks so that hopefully like once your grade 12 final marks are put into OUAC, you can get that offer of admission. Thoughts on MedRad? MedRad is a great program. I actually have a friend in that program and she's really enjoying it. It's like very like focused in on like that like radiology, you know, like I've seen a bunch of her classes where like they'll actually be like studying scans and that kind of thing. And you also, I believe there's an option to do co-op in that, but yeah, it's a good program. Ryerson Nursing. I don't have any like specific opinions on Ryerson Nursing. I think it's a good program. Do unis really care about your ECs? Again, just depends on if your specific program requires a supplementary application. And that depends on what kind of supplementary application it is. Some of them ask for ECs, some of them don't. So I would really recommend like researching into that. And if you tell me like what kind of programs you're applying to, like are you applying to engineering, applying to social sciences, I can tell you if they generally do have extracurriculars. How/when do you recommend students to work on sub-apps to make them stand out? Okay, quick drink of water and then I'll answer that question. Okay, also I'm going to wrap up the live at 10:30. So if you have any questions, I would recommend asking them now before I end it. Okay, so I would recommend you get started as early as possible. Whenever those sub-app questions are released, you get them and you start. Because if you just delay it and if you keep procrastinating on it, out of sight, out of mind, whatever, if it just makes you anxious and you just don't want to think about it, then that's just going to end up hurting your chances. So I would say start as early as possible. And as for the technique when you're approaching them, I would say like take a look at the questions. Like first of all, just read them and jot down just any ideas that pop in your brain. Like what's your first thought? And then from there, just kind of like have 1 hour session where you just kind of like brainstorm just possible ideas, ways you could approach this question, ways you could like make it unique, ways you could like approach it from this strategy, whatever. And then from there, like you can chat about it like with your friend or whoever, like, or you can just do it by yourself, but you can kind of like refine your ideas or which ideas are stronger, which ideas you have more evidence for, which ideas you think you can back up or make like a strong essay for, and then just kind of like narrow it down. And then from there, after you like you make like your first draft or whatever, maybe read it to some of your friends or like get someone in the program just to like read over and give you advice. And then from there, you can kind of like start to refine it. And I would recommend having like 3 drafts so you can like really make it concise and really convey what you want to convey. And in fact, like I would also recommend like asking your English teachers. Try to ask them, like, if you're good with your English teacher, try to ask them, because English teachers can be very helpful in that aspect. And, like, most of them are really nice and chill. Like, if it isn't, like, marking season and they aren't, like, super busy marking, like, most of them will be open to, like, kind of give you pointers or advice. But, yeah. Does grade 11 co-op mark count? I did grade 11 co-op, and it did not count for my personal university applications. But it does show up on OUAC, like you will see the mark there, but it's not actually considered because it's not like a university course. But again, that depends on what you're applying for. How is psych at Laurier? I don't know the specifics about that program, but for Laurier in general, they do have a good balance of like academics and social life. How do unis consider you if you did Super 12? I don't know what Super 12 is. Never heard of that. Is that something in Ontario or is it like something in Alberta? How does early acceptance work? This is a great question. We get this all the time. Yeah, I really want to try to answer this question as best as possible because I know a lot of people have that question. Okay, so typically universities start giving students offers from November to May. And so depending on the university, these offers might be rolling. So that means they might give offers every week. They might give offers every month. It just depends. So let's say a program has 300 spots to offer and they're giving some spots every single month. And so how early acceptance works is like, let's say in the first few months, like November, December, that kind of thing, they don't really have any grade 12 marks available. Like your final marks aren't in, your midterm marks aren't in, whatever. If they're not in, then they don't have any other marks to consider except for your grade 11 marks. So in those cases, in the first few months, they'll take a look at your grade 11 average, and if it's like really high, they'll give you an offer of acceptance. But once you start to get those grade 12 marks, like let's say you get your ENG4U mark, they will not consider your ENG3U mark anymore. Once you have that final ENG4U mark, ENG3U is not considered. Now it's ENG4U that's only considered. So as you start to get your grade 12 marks, those are the only ones that are going to be considered. So if you don't have like extremely strong grade 11 marks, like I would say like don't stress about it, but just like really work hard to make your grade 12 marks as best as possible, so then you can like guarantee yourself an offer of admission maybe in the later admission rounds or cycles. And so I would recommend looking into like how your specific programs does admission cycles, because I know, for example, like some schools do it where they have like 3 big rounds. Like they'll give really big like a really large amount of offers in December, March, and May. So again, I would just recommend looking into how your university does it. Do you know about SHISM? Could you explain it? So SHISM, Specialist High Schools Major, basically you just do a bunch of like certifications and like experiences, and like you take like a leadership course, and to be honest, it's not like a detriment. Like, it doesn't hurt your application. It doesn't really do anything, but it is pretty nice because it gives you like certifications. Like, for example, I did SHISM and like I got CPR certified, and that really helped me when applying to like other volunteer positions. And like we also do like other like outreach experiences. Like, for example, let me think. Like, as part of SHISM, we toured like Waterloo and we toured Mcmaster. So you get an opportunity to do these like experiences, which might not make a difference on your university like applications. Like, your universities might not see it or know about it, but it does make a difference in like applying to volunteer positions, or like just for yourself to like get to have these experiences and like grow as an individual. When do they put grade 12 Sem 1 marks in OUAC? That's a great question. If you go on our website, we have something called like if you go on resources, we have like a calendar. Yeah. Click this calendar. It has all the dates of OUAC. Like, it has when like the semester 1 marks will be processed and that kind of thing. So I recommend going on there. Like, for example, this is the Ontario University Fair. But anyways, we have all the dates on there. So if you want the specific dates, I would recommend going on there. Do you know if being in the SHISM program gives you a boost in acceptance? In my experience, it has not. Like, because in SHISM, you just do like those experiences, you get your certifications, you do a field trip, whatever, and then you do like one leadership course or you do co-op. So it doesn't impact your acceptances, but it does give you a lot of like good experiences that you can kind of discuss if you have like a sub app, or experiences that might help you when applying to like different volunteer positions, and also just experiences to grow your character. Like for example, like we got certified for my SHISM program, we got certified in infection control, we got certifications in CPR, and like other certifications that like also like can help you for like future purposes. Do they look at your extracurriculars? Depends on your program. Again, it always just depends on your program. Some programs have a supplementary application where they ask you about your volunteer experiences. Some don't have any supplementary application at all, and it's just based on grades. And some have supplementary applications that just don't ask about your grades, but they might ask about different questions. Or sorry, they don't ask about your extracurriculars. Okay, yeah, co-op grade 11 doesn't count, but it's still like a fun experience. Like, for example, it can also be helpful for like other supplementary applications. Like, for example, I know this girl who for co-op was like a pharmacy assistant, and then so she applied to a program called CAP, which is like an advanced like pharmacy thing where you get to like get into pharmacy school after only 2 years of undergrad. And so being a pharmacy assistant and doing co-op really enhanced her application because she had that like working experience at a pharmacy, and she got to see like what the day-to-day looked like. So in my opinion, I would just recommend doing co-op since it doesn't hurt your application, but it can give you like real world, like real job experience in the sector that you like. For example, I did my co-op at a hospital, and so just being in that environment was really helpful for me. To like learn about like the hospital and how it works, and just get to see like different like roles in the hospital, and like learn, for example, like the technologies they use, like Meditech and ChartMax and that kind of thing. Okay, I didn't hear if you recommend taking physics. If your thing doesn't require physics, like if it's not a prerequisite, and if you don't want to take it, then don't take it, because it can sometimes like hurt your average because it is a difficult course. But what I also said was I would recommend looking at like the first year courses that you're going to be taking in your program. For example, Western MedSci, I believe they make you take first year physics. So in that case, it might be helpful to take grade 12 physics just to know what it's about, you know, and get like a head start on that course. So someone said Mac Health Science app is due Jan 13th. Does that mean that they only look at grade 11 and Sem 1 grade 12? So even though their sub app is due January 13th, the actual like results, like when you will find out if you're accepted or rejected from Mac Health Sci, comes out in mid-May. So they're going to consider only your top 6 grade 12. They're not going to consider your grade 11. What school and program are you in? I'm at Queen's. Sorry, water break. Does applying later, like in December, hinder your chances of acceptance? It doesn't necessarily hinder them. But from personal experience, I would recommend just applying earlier because, like, for example, like I was explaining earlier, usually universities, their application offer window is from November to May. So from November to May, they'll be giving out like offers. So let's say you apply earlier in November, you have more chances of offers. Just because you applied earlier, there's more weeks where they will be considering your application and possibly give you an offer. What program are you studying? I'm studying health sciences. What are the rules when applying to many programs in one school? Great question. So you're only allowed to apply to 3 programs at one school. So let's say I'm applying to Western. I can only apply to 3 programs. Let's say Health Sci, Med Sci, and I don't know, General Science or something. You can only apply to 3. Can you make changes to your application once submitted on your OUAC? Yes, you can. You can make changes, but I'm not sure. I believe there might be a fee associated with those changes. But yeah, you can make changes. How do you get scholarships? There's different types of scholarships. There's entrance scholarships, which you're automatically considered for based on your average. There's bigger scholarships you can apply to, like Loran, TD, Schulich. For those, you have to apply, get references, essays, that kind of thing. There is like university-related scholarships, like Queen's Chancellor Scholarship, Western National Scholarship, and those are related to the individual universities, and you have to apply to them. There's also smaller ones, which I would definitely recommend you apply to, like Horatio Alger. There's also like other like niche ones, like BMO has one, RBC has one, I think, and those are like at least smaller than like Loran and TD and Schulich. So it's a bit better if you apply to those. It's a bit easier to get them. So yes, some schools do have entrance scholarships. And for entrance scholarships, you're automatically considered. Should I apply early or wait? It doesn't hurt to apply early. Like, it does not hurt. Even if your grade 11 average was low, like, it's not like they're going to look at that and say, oh, she had a 94 in grade 11, but she has a 98 in grade 12. Guess we can't take her that 94 in grade 11. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. If you apply early, it's fine. It just gives the university, like, more like weeks to consider your application, if that makes sense. Did you do the Queen's Personal Statement of Experience Supplementary? Great question. So they actually changed it up, I believe last year or the year before. You don't do the personal statement anymore. You just do their supplementary essay, which is like you answer 2 essay questions, and it's like 2,000 characters per question. I got my Queen's acceptance in March, so pretty early. When you apply, do you need to include SUP-app? When you apply on OUAC, you do not need to do the SUP-app. You just apply to your universities, and then like after 2 weeks, the universities are going to send you an email saying, please log in and make a portal with our university, like portal, website, whatever. And then you make your account on your university portal, and then from there you can fill out your supplementary application. Someone asked, did you take physics considering you got into Queen's Health Sci? I actually chose not to take physics just because I don't like physics. But again, it's up to you. Queen's Health Sci is like a really strong program. Like we have really strong support. So I'm answering someone's question. They're asking like, is it worth it since it's such a new program? So it is a new program. It was built 3 years ago, but because it's so new, like the learning models and the way you learn is so like adaptable, and like you are the pioneers of that program. You can shape it how you want to be, and you have so much opportunity to like create clubs and extracurriculars. And at the same time, you get a lot of support from the faculty because the entire faculty is working to make this program a success. They want this program to be strong. They want students to enjoy their time here, and they want students to also get high GPA. So all of the staff, all the professors, all of the courses are designed for you to succeed. And also a big emphasis at Queen's Health Sci is a collaborative program. Everyone is here to help you. We have like a mentorship program where you get paired with like medical students, and they basically like mentor you and like teach you like, I don't know, just like tips and tricks, that kind of thing. Yeah. If I want to become a dentist, what path do I take? And can I do my undergrad in life sciences? So yeah, dentistry is a graduate program, so you have to do an undergraduate program, and you can do your undergrad in life sciences. Does every Queen's program require the supplementary essay? It's a great question. No. The only is commerce, nursing, and health sci. And I'm not sure if it's changed this year, but those are the only 3 programs that required it last year. What is the difference between level 1 and level 2 sub-app of Mac Health Sci? Level 1 is if you're in grade 12 applying to Mac Health Sci. Level 2 is if you're a first year student at Mcmaster and you want to transfer into Mcmaster Health Sci. So for example, let's say there's a first year life sci student at Mcmaster who wants to transfer into Health Sci. They would complete the level 2 supplementary application. But for you, I'm assuming you're a grade 12 student and you're applying to Mcmaster Health Sciences. In that case, you would probably you would apply with the level 1. Do we apply and submit through OUAC first and then fill out supplementary applications after that? Yeah. So you apply to OUAC first, and then your universities will email you asking you to create an account with their portal, and then from there you can fill out any supplementary applications. Okay, so it's 10:33, so I'm going to wrap up the live here, but I really hope this has been helpful for you guys. And if you guys want us to continue doing this, please let me know. And yeah, this was my first time doing a live, but I think it was pretty good, and I think I was hopefully able to help people. And so yeah, if you guys would like us to continue doing this, just let me know, and I'd be down to keep doing this. But yeah, if you have any other questions, always message us on the site. We always have people who are able to respond to your questions and connect you to other university students. And yeah, have a good evening, guys.